fellow book lovers. So today I have a review on Everything I Never Told You by Celeste Ng. This is a book that was sent to me for review by Penguin. This book came out in mid-2014 and there was a fair amount of buzz around it. A lot of people had certain expectations about what the story was going to be focusing on, and a lot of people went into it and came out the other side realizing that it really wasn't what they thought it was going to be about. So I had seen those reviews, so I had a better idea of what to expect when picking up this book. This book takes place in the 1970s in Ohio, USA. We have an Asian American family that is really the only Asian family around, and it follows them starting from the day that they find out that their daughter Lydia is missing. The Lee family has 3 children, Nath, Lydia, and Hannah, and it's very obvious to everyone that Lydia is the favorite child, and she is the one that goes missing. It not only sends the family into hysterics of, where did our daughter go, what happened to our daughter, but it provides the perfect setting for sort of explaining these family dynamics. And that's really what the story is about, is how the family recognizes and works out their problems, because they have quite a few. So I think a lot of people went into this book thinking that it was going to be more of a murder mystery in what happened to Lydia, because you do find out very soon after she was missing that she is dead. And instead it was how the family copes with this issue and how are they going to live with themselves now that this has happened. This book is filled with flawed characters. There is not a perfect person in this book at all. No Mary Sue's here. We have the chance to read from the perspective of every family member, including Lydia, and each time you are offered a slightly different skewed view on what happens, how the father takes certain things that his wife does, how the mother takes what her kids do and what her husband does, and it's all offered in this very, slightly different view. And you also can really tell how the lack of communication that led to certain things happening also leads to the title of this book, Everything I Never Told You. There are some very important things that should have been said in here, and you see them all because you get to read from all the different characters' perspectives, and so I actually found myself getting very angry at the characters because they wouldn't say things or they would do something and I'd say that she's taking it the completely wrong way, So Mom, Dad, Nath, and Lydia, I was reading from all of their perspectives and getting very angry about the choices that they were making and the things that they were deciding to do. Hannah was the last perspective that we read about. She's the youngest daughter, and she was the only one who I didn't absolutely hate, which I think is kind of the point, almost, that Hannah, who was the one who was sort of forgotten, she was the 3rd child, kind of unwanted, and she's the one who has the best perspective of what's happening. She's the quiet one in the corner, so she can really observe, where everyone else is very much wrapped up in their own lives. She's the one who, like the reader, can really step back from the situation and analyze it in a different way. That, in turn, made her much more likable. This book does an excellent job of really explaining to us who these people are. We see a lot of different snapshots of times in their lives, before the kids were born, after the kids are born, certain things that happened. We learn the desires, the wants, the needs of all of these characters and what they're missing from their lives, and so that sort of makes you really feel for them and makes you angry at other characters, because you're like, if you would just say something, so many things would be fixed. You also really find out what makes them tick. So these characters are very realistic, very real. It feels like you know them, at least to a certain extent. Doesn't mean you have to like them and know them, but you know them. There are a few uplifting moments towards the end of the book, but mostly this is very dark, almost gritty in a way at times. It's very, very complicated too, because of all these characters' thoughts are, being pushed around through the different chapters, and there's crisscrossings of stories and whatnot, so it can be complicated with how these characters feel and what they want at that time versus what has happened in the past. Not that it's complicated to understand, but that it's complicated in the lives of these characters. I did also really appreciate the ending. I felt it was very appropriate, left a little bit of spark of hope for the family, because when you start reading, you think that this is just going to turn into a huge mess. The author did a really wonderful job of bringing it to an acceptable close without making it seem perfect. In the end, I decided to give this 4 out of 5 stars. It is a very, very good read. It didn't blow me out of the water, but it's definitely worth your time. It really makes you feel something. You're engaged in the story. I also got to find out what it was like, at least a little bit, to be an Asian American family and a biracial family living in the 1970s in the USA, and sort of the challenges and the prejudice that they ran up against. Definitely recommend this book if you're looking for strong literary fiction. Give it a shot. As always, all of the links are in the doobly-doo. Check those out if you feel so inclined. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you later.